Now, let's take you to Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. It's the second week and the last week, of course, of the 27th edition of the Conference of Parties, otherwise known as COP27. And that's in full swing. You remember COP26 was held last year in Glasgow, in Scotland. Now, global leaders are in talks to tackle climate crisis. Senior reporter Siphamandla Goge is tracking this story for us. He joins us now from the Egyptian resorts. Siphamandla, good afternoon. Ngome. How are the climate talks going today?
Well, I seem to have lost you there, but I guess you are still with me. If that is the case, I will just talk about what is happening currently. Those talks are underway. This is the second and last week of these intense global climate change negotiations. First week was mainly about photo opportunities, world leaders coming here, pledging their commitments, their countries' commitments in fighting the impact of climate change. But these talks have been going on for 27 years now. Nothing much has come up. A number of commitments have been made, but they have not been honored. Today and tomorrow is mainly about a session known as the ministerial segment. Ministers of environment from various countries that did not have an opportunity to have their presidents last week delivering their country's opening statements will deliver those opening statements today and tomorrow, basically saying this is who we are, this is our position, this is what we want out of this talk. Yesterday there was a strategic meeting of African ministers of environment. South Africa participated in that meeting, and it was about to consolidate the continental position when it comes to COP27 talks. Let's take a listen to the South African Minister of Environmental Affairs, Fisheries and Forestry.
The purpose of that meeting is to share with all African ministers the current status of negotiation and, of course, the current status of key negotiating points that would be of interest to the African continent, including finance and technological support, the work program around adaptation, mitigation in the context of just transitions.
That's Minister Barbara Creecy. Now, Siphamandla, South African companies are participating. I can see some logos behind you there on the wall. What is their position on the just energy transition? What are the South African companies saying?
Well, a number of them are here, including Eskom and Sasol, the country's two biggest contributors to emissions. Both of them have adhered to, or rather committed to, reducing emissions. They are saying they are part of the just energy transition process, but they've warned that it must be done in an orderly and balanced manner. Eskom CEO Andre Dareta was here. We've been asking for an interview with him since the morning. He's been avoiding us, but we'll keep on pushing. Basically, South African companies are saying this just energy transition has to be done. According to them, renewable energy is the way to go to solve the country's energy crisis. Let's take a listen to what Sasol said about the just energy transition process and how it should not leave anyone behind.
This is a fundamental point for us as Sasol, and we are quite clear that in terms of our priorities, our decarbonization agenda is actually people-centric. So we're looking at both planet, people, and profit. And as part of that, we are working very closely with our communities. Our key focus areas is in areas such as Secunda, where we have large dependency on our coal mining and coal production. First of all, then, the decarbonization of Secunda will enable that we sustain some of the jobs in that area. But at the same time, we are upskilling our employees to make sure that through our Just Transition Office, we're working with other partners to ensure that new opportunities are created, new ecosystem industries are also created to address the social imperatives. But again, to re-emphasize, the energy challenges of South Africa are huge. We know we currently have power challenges. So this energy transition, if it's embraced well with the infrastructure and the capabilities required, will actually unleash opportunities for us to develop small businesses, medium enterprises, whilst at the same time we are revitalizing economies that were not competitively positioned globally.
I understand, Siphamandla, there's been some warning here on our continent, Africa, about unplanned just energy transition. What is the warning?
The warning is that African nations must not be pressurized to completely and just dump coal within a fast-paced environment. They must take into account their developmental needs and developmental interests. The warning comes from the AU and NEPAD to say, whatever you do, make sure that you look at your developmental needs and then undertake this just energy transition in line with your interests and developmental needs. Do not be bullied into just dumping coal, whereas the developed world is reverting back to using coal. Let's take a listen. In
the context of just transition, Africa has to follow its own developmental objectives because that's what Europe is doing. The energy challenges they are having now has got them back to coal. So Africa cannot abandon this. It has to be a gradual process. At the point where we are in our development, we have to consider all the energy mix, including the use of coal. But importantly, in our interactions with our development partner, they have technologies. Those technologies can be shared with Africa for us to be able to then use our resources in a way that is cleaner, as well as having more resilience built in our economies and our societies.